we kind of spoiled part of the Xbox thing. So I will ask though before we move on, anything else you wanted to add?
Nope.
We actually spoiled like a 5 minute version of this. I recognize the 5 minute version is the like it's actually 4 games. These are not the games you're thinking of. It's not Indiana Jones. It's not Starfield. Whatever. They did also confirm that they're still committed to Game Pass. Game Pass is successful. The first party games are coming to Xbox, but they also want to make sure that those are coming to PC. Multiple platforms. The value of multi-platform. These are all things we already knew they would say. Something else from this was that some people were saying that they could be working on the next generation console already.
Yeah.
They might already be working on it.
Which, like, I know it's been like, what is it, like 3 or 4 years since like the PS5 and
Right.
the Xbox Series have come out, but it really doesn't feel like it's been that
Well,
long. And
for the Series X and PlayStation even more so, you had to murder someone to get a PS5.
yeah, the
You had to
supply
fight
chain
bots.
issues because of COVID was pretty
So
bad.
for a lot of people, they're like, "Well, I just got it a year ago, and you're telling me
I
we're
mean, yeah,
already like
I
halfway
did.
there."
I just got a PS5 like
Yeah.
8 months ago or something like
For
that.
some people, like, yeah, I don't want to pay $1,000 for a PS5, so I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah.
They're already like 3 some years into the life cycle, and they're like, "Oh, well, we're already thinking of the next one." I'm like, I just got this one because the supply chain was duty. Yeah, and bots kept taking my console.
Yeah, and they're not doing anything about the freaking scalpers and the bots like
Exactly.
taking all
And
the supply. Like,
the Series X did have that problem too, not as bad though. It was as bad, obviously. There was less demand for the Series X than the PlayStation 5. And the Series S also had less demand. Like, you could get Series S's pretty quick, as I did. I don't think there was anything in here that I was particularly surprised by. I do think we'll probably see more than 4 games from the Microsoft Xbox team going multi-console, besides the 4
yeah,
that they're thinking.
eventually.
Um, but I do think I don't think anything in here really shocked me from hearing it. I wasn't surprised that
I
Indiana Jones and Starfield are not coming to PlayStation
yeah,
5. Like, okay, like,
I found it weird that they didn't like actually announce any of the 4 games that are
yeah, I
going
kind of
on.
wish
I
they had
know
said.
Phil said like, yeah, we want to leave that to like those teams to like announce those when they're ready and stuff. And like, I get that, but at the same time, I don't know. They rambled on a lot in this thing, like business speak, like, oh, we need growth and growth and growth and growth and more growth and more growth. And it's
Yep.
like, and I'm like, I'm like, this is just like investor call, like meeting bullshit where they're talking about like how they can make more money and squeeze more
Right.
money out of people. And like, as a gamer, I don't want to hear that. I leave that shit in your investor calls. I don't want to see a 22-minute YouTube video about that. Like,
Right.
I don't know. Like, I want to hear about new games. I want to hear, and if you're gonna change like your strategy, which is what they advertise this as, like, then just get down to it and be it. And they just talked in a lot of like business speak and a lot of like just
They said a lot of stuff
general
we already knew. Like, we knew a lot of stuff.
generalizations and just a lot of things we already knew. They said like, okay, 4 games are going multi-platform. Again, the rumors are it's Grounded, Hi-Fi Rush, Sea of Thieves, and there was one other one that I don't remember. I think if you scroll down to the comments, there's some comments that actually say it, but
Yeah, I don't remember. There might have been. I wonder if they got deleted.
yeah, maybe.
They might have been deleted.
But and also they said that Diablo 4 is coming to Game Pass pretty soon, I think, in the
Yep.
next couple of months, and that it sounds like the Activision Blizzard stuff will be coming to Game Pass as well.
Yep.
So
Makes sense. They had to make sure everything went through.
that's expected. But yeah, this presentation could have been 5 to 10 minutes, and you would have gotten the same out of it as a gamer again. I'm sure the investors and the business people like to hear the business talk and growth and blah blah blah, but you know, as a gamer, I'm not interested. I don't want to hear how you're going to try and squeeze more money out of people
Yeah.
because you are, frankly, these game companies already make plenty of money.
Well,
I don't want to hear about them cutting more jobs and more microtransactions and early access, and we're going to charge more money for games, and
yeah.
it, it, I don't know. It's not a good look in my opinion. This presentation was in my opinion, like just like it was either a nothing for a lot of people. It's just like a nothing burger, and other people, like for me, I think this was kind of a fat L in my opinion. Like I think it was just a bad
Well,
presentation. Like
unfortunately, this wasn't for you.
yeah,
This is an updates on Xbox business podcast episode. If it was supposed to be for you, it probably would have said updates on Xbox gaming library and exclusivity, and upcoming
yeah, but
releases.
then like why did they advertise? Like I don't know. I don't know this.
The whole point of this was to make sure that the folks that were more interested in the business side of the conversation of Xbox, that were probably asking questions and like, what's going on with the exclusivity? How come we're getting all these rumors? First off, they needed to just make sure that the rumor was squished as soon as possible.
That's fair.
And then the rest of this was just them explaining all the stuff we already knew. If anybody was involved, and was like, okay, we already know you care about multi-platform. We already know you've invested a lot in Game Pass. We already know about Blizzard games coming to Game Pass. We know that none of this is all really things we already knew. For me, this was nothing, but it was good to know that, okay, what is the actual state of this cross-platform kind of game library? And is it going to be extended past like a couple games? I'm not saying it's a problem if it is. I think Sea of Thieves going multi-platform is great, actually. Going to PS5, I think that's a great thing. And I think it's great that like Grounded is going to PS5. I think those are great games to go to another console. I was more or less just curious if it was going to be a common trend where they're going to pick out certain games to go to PlayStation 5 or not. So I think for me, this was mostly nothing, but it was interesting to know that, okay, the rumors weren't actually true, that everybody was trying to spread around for any clicks that they could get. Everything else about this is all just they're talking to the other guy that's not the gamer.
Yep.
Which is interesting because it's like you're on an Xbox channel, but you know, I'm very sure that most people probably had the same opinion as you. I'm like, okay, well, this was nothing. this was nothing. What was the point of this? My take on it is, okay, 4 games are coming to PlayStation 5, and you're not necessarily changing your direction. Got it. That's it. Did this have to be 23 minutes? No.
No, this didn't even need. This could have been a 5-minute video, or it could have been just like a press release.
It could have
just
been
like an Xbox blog post, like one of those, and they just TLDR it on Twitter and then link to the article.
That would have been fine too.
Like
that would have been perfectly fine if they just had a couple quotes from Phil, or this was like a 5-minute video of just specifically talking about the exclusivity part, instead of telling us about. They kind of treated this like, I don't know. This was weird. They treated this like it was you're at like a like a panel of like a convention. They treated it like a panel at a business convention, and I'm like, I don't know how well this will work in this case.
I mean, as I said, it sounded like investor call speak to me for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know.
This is what you'd sell at a conference. You'd sell it at a conference. You'd be like, oh, let's do this panel at a conference. This is what I would have expected from that. So, I mean,
a conference not for gamers, like as you said, a business, like a business conference.
This at a game conference would just be like people would be leaving the room. This is like, okay, business conference. Like let's hear about the direction of Xbox. We're at a Microsoft conference. I don't know. I mean, I get it. I get anybody that was like, this was a lame video. Oh, I'm with you. I was like, man, this is like, I watched the whole thing and I'm thinking, yeah, I knew that. Yeah, knew that. This is a long video. Knew that. I do appreciate they they squished the rumors in the first 5 minutes though.
Yeah.
So technically this could have been a 5-minute video for
Yeah.
you.
Easy.
And then you could have just been like, okay, the rest of this is boring. So I do appreciate they put the timestamp so you could just skip the rest. But yeah, I don't think this was necessarily the best use of like a long form video. This would have been way better as let's do a 5-minute video on Xbox and then let's save the rest of this for like one of the conferences that's coming up, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Might have been better if it was just saved for a conference. Anyway, anybody that was saying this was boring, yeah, I could see it. Anyway. Anything else before
Nope.
Yeah, this was definitely blown out of proportion. Basically the internet blew this whole thing out of proportion. And that's why they did this. I don't know why they needed to do the rest of this, but this is why we needed this first 5 minutes.
They probably did it because there were all those rumors floating about them basically killing Xbox the console.
Right.
They were going to become a publisher like Sega did.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, obviously.
Right.
So.
Okay. We got one more thing here. It's D&D. I'll just admit right now to you, I don't know any of the updates that are... I don't remember much of the updates that are coming, but it says sneak preview of the Dungeons & Dragons 2024 rules update. So, it says they're not part of the new 6th edition game. Okay, so these wide-ranging changes are not part of the new 6th edition of the game. Rules updates will be compatible with 5e. Spoon, can you help understand what are the major changes in this update, if any?
I've read through some of them. The stuff that I've read through is like playtest stuff, so it's not official yet.
Yeah.
Most of the a lot of the rules are staying the same, and as they said, these rules are completely interchangeable and compatible with 5e. At least that's their intention, so that you can take some of the new rules that you like and throw out the other ones that you don't like. And that's always the case with the D&D rule books. I know there are players that are complete rules lawyer by the book type thing, but it says in the preamble of in either the player's handbook or the DMG that the rules are there as guidance, but it's your game and you do with them what you will. If you don't like a particular rule, you can throw it out or change it or whatever, right? Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, they've updated all of the classes in one way or another. They're similar to their 5e versions, but some balance changes here and there. I think they said that every class now has, I don't remember if it was 3 or maybe 4 subclasses in this new rule book. Whereas in the base rules, most of the classes had 3, I think, 2 or 3, and then there were some wizard had 6 or there was one for each school of magic. Cleric had a ton as well, so I think they're homogenizing it a little more in terms of that. There's new race, the races work much differently. The races now are much more, I would say homogenous as well, where you are going to get some particular abilities from the race you pick, but I'm pretty sure they made it so the short races still have 30 feet of movement now as opposed to 25. And you don't get particular stats from the race you pick. You can just get to pick the stats that you want. So you oh, I want to play a wizard, so I need to pick a race that has an intelligence buff, so I need to pick a high elf or something that has an intelligence buff. So you can just pick a race and do whatever with your stats, basically.
Oh, okay, got it.
And the again, the last time I read it with feats, so all of the feats now give you 1 stat point as well as whatever the feat does. there were some feats in 5e that did that, where you get like, you know, 1 to strength or dexterity, and then like whatever the feat does. And then there were some where you would just get like the feat,
Hmm.
and no stats. From what I've seen, all of the feats in this one give you one of at least of one stat, and then whatever the ability of the feat is. And I'm pretty sure every character starts with one feat now.
Yep.
Um, and there is and the ASI ability score improvement still exists. They just call it a feat. So like you get a feat and you can pick ASI and then you get 2 stat points, right?
Got it. Yep. I think I actually, yeah, I've seen that. Yep.
And I honestly like that, because it just feels like in 5e, like your stats just like never go up, and it's just annoying. Like,
They go up very
very
slowly
infrequently.
without items to try and benefit you. They go up
Yeah, and
pretty
there's a
infrequently and
lot of
slowly.
feats that are like really good and you really want to take. Um,
Yep.
those are some of the things that I remember. Yeah, I haven't read through everything, and it's gone through like a number of iterations since I've like looked
Yep.
at things. I know at one point they were playing around with like 3 different spell lists, basically like an arcane spell list, so like a primal spell list, and then a like a holy or, you know, like religious based spell list. I think
Hmm.
they might have scrapped that and just went back to the class based spell lists
Yep.
from 5e. Um, yeah, again, I'm kind of just doing it all off the top of my head from stuff that I read quite a while ago,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember too many of the other specifics right now.
That's okay.
But yeah, this article shows the new player's handbook is coming out in September, I think it says.
Yes.
So
It's at September
you'll
17th,
you'll be able to
2024.
get your hands on the official non-playtest version of all of these new rules in September. I mean, obviously, it's Wizards. They want to make money, so they want to release new versions of the rules.
Yeah, sure.
Um, they don't want to. I think they don't want to scrap 5e because 5e is really popular. So they don't want to like throw it all away and do like a sixth edition where they
Right.
change it all. Um, so I think this is good. I mean, 5e's been around for like close to 10 years now, I think.
Yep. I'd say 10 years is right.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I hopefully these new rules will fix some of the problems some people have with
Yep.
fifth edition. Um, yeah, we'll see. Again, I haven't looked at them in a while. Um, so yeah, I'm interested to see it. I'll probably buy the book when it comes out in September, just to see all the new stuff. And we'll probably I mean, depending on what there is, but we may end up using some of the new rules in our games. And like,
Got it.
again, it's supposed to be interchangeable with fifth edition. So again, take the new things you like and dump the new things that you don't like, and just
Yeah,
stick with what regular fifth
exactly.
edition had. So
It's also worth noting Dungeon Master's Guide, November 12th, Monster Manual, February 18th, 2025.
yeah,
They had some notes for each of them. Dungeon Master Guide being particularly helpful for the well, I mean, even players reading it as a player is interesting, but
yeah,
Dungeon Master Guide obviously being useful. And then Monster Manual. I was just looking at Monster Manual really quickly before, and it said won't have any CR changes to existing monsters. Any adventures using them are unaffected. Added, however, some may receive mechanical adjustments to make sure their CR is correct. All stat blocks will be updated to make them easier to use and to stop adding, and to add some spice, not stop, add some spice.
yeah.
So
I think one of the complaints about, like, I think both the classes and the monsters in fifth edition is a lot of the monsters in fifth edition, they're just like not very interesting. They just like don't do anything interesting. They just like
they
do
attack.
damage. They just like attack or do damage for the most part. So hopefully they add like more interesting. I
Mhm.
mean, there's like fears here and there. You know, dragons have like their fire breath, but like that just does damage. It's a different type of damage than like a big AOE.
Here's a fun monster they should do more of. Look up the Umber Hulk. The Umber Hulk is like a bug, like a big old bug, and it can tunnel. So in a fight, you like, I did like a combat with it. It tunnels. It's also got this ability that's like a confusing gaze. If somebody looks at it within 30 feet, and you can make like, you can turn away from it, but that means you're not looking at it.
So yeah, it's like disadvantage
Yeah.
and stuff. So.
If you look at it, you have to make a check, and if you fail this check, I don't remember the check. I think it's like it might be wisdom.
Probably
if you fail
wisdom.
the check, you roll a die, and your result of that die is the action you take. So in some cases, you just don't do anything for a turn, but in others, you attack somebody next to you. So it's like, it's a bug that has like the ability to tunnel and can confuse you with its eyes, which is like, it's super interesting. It has like a very basic attack where it just like, it slams you and then it can grab you, but like its other abilities are pretty cool. I want more monsters like that one, where it's just like, oh, if you look at it, you have to make this wisdom check, and if you don't, like some random thing happens because you're confused. It's more interesting than like, look, an orc.
Yeah.
Orcs. Oh no. So like there are good monsters. I just want more of like the Umber Hulk kind of monster. That's like more interesting than just like, oh, this thing attacks you. If it hits you, it depletes your max hit point, and you can just die if you get to 0. It's just like, well, what the heck? Wow. That's not really like a fun mechanic or anything. That just sucks. Holy crap. But the confusing gaze was really funny. Like, it was a funny combat. Everybody wanted it to go off because they wanted to see what happened.
Wizards design sometimes with some of their monsters and some of their modules as well is just like really, it's just like really teabaggy sometimes, and I just don't get it.
So
like,
the confusing gaze thing probably to some people would be very unfun, but to the group, it was the podcast group. Still, it was like our best session because everybody was rooting for this thing to get the confusing gaze off and just see what everybody else was going to do.
Just root for chaos.
We were rooting for chaos, and like that's what you want. You want to like, you kind of want a mixture of like, okay, I'm really powerful, I'm slaying like goblins, but also a mixture of like, what's going to happen? The uniqueness of like what's going to happen. So with monsters, I feel like a lot of times it's too predictable what's going to happen. But then there's the Umber Hulk, and the Umber Hulk is all about unpredictability. And that's what I like about it. It's very unpredictable. Like, as opposed to like an orc, you know, the orc is just going to run at you.
He's going to run at you and swing his big axe.
He's going to run at you, swing his axe. You know what certain monsters are going to do. They're just going to run at you or shoot you with a bow. But the Umber Hulk can tunnel to you and then pop out of the ground. And if you look at it, you have to do this save.
Yeah.
So it's like a very cool monster. More of that monster where you can get like a unique, fun experience, and you're almost rooting for the monster to get you with its gaze. Yeah. As opposed to maybe just more of like, oh, this is a CR level 5. Why? Because it's just a big, thick thing.
Yeah.
That hits hard. This is like, okay, but that's not super interesting. We know what's going to happen in that fight.
I'm hoping for more interesting monsters, and in some of the classes, I'm hoping for like some more interesting options.
Right.
I mean, you always want your champion fighter to exist for like, you know, that one friend who just like doesn't want a complicated character.
Yeah, sure.
Just wants to swing their sword and like crit on a 19 or 20, and like you want that to exist, and like that's fine. But I want like more complex options other than spell, like in the melee, in the martial classes, like ranger and rogue and fighter, for like players that want more options with their class. Like I want more buttons to push with my ranger, rogue, or fighter than just like shoot my bow or swing my sword. Like,
because not every monster, as Ghost said, not every monster has to just hit you for 50 damage. Like you can have monsters that do more than just hit you for 50 damage. Like the Umber Hulk doesn't do that much damage on its slams. I think like it hurts, but the gaze, it's frustrating. The gaze, because you have to look at it to hit it for the most part.
Makes you lose your turn.
Exactly, it can make you lose your turn. Like, and like you're planning around it. It's also tunneling, so you're like you don't know where it's gonna go. It has tremor sense, so if you move, it's gonna figure you out. I mean, it's like, it's a great monster. Umber Hulk is one of my favorite monsters because it's fun. It's so fun. I don't like the monsters that are like, oh, what is it? Well, it's a CR level 10. Why is it CR level 10? Because it hits you for 70 damage. It's like, well, okay. Holy crap. Yeah.
It punches you twice and it does 30 damage per hit. So
And
like,
it's
have
like-
fun. Like,
And I'm like, well, yeah. It's like, dang. I guess I'm going down. Anyway.
oh, the other thing that I remember, by the way, actually,
Okay.
that I just remembered, they're
Yep.
making the healing is better.
Thank
in
fucking
this,
God.
in this new edition.
Healers.
I mean, I don't think it'll like outpace damage because it shouldn't. But
Yeah, it
like
shouldn't.
healing is much better from what I remember when I was
Yeah.
reading through, like healing spells.
Another big issue is particularly with new players in D&D, but I think just in general, people don't want to be a healer. I'm not saying that nobody does, but like every time I feel like I join a campaign or play one, people are like, well, I mean, I'll take healing word. And I'm like, yeah, but that's healing, but that's not a lot. Like, imagine if we're all level 5 or 6 and now we get a level 1 healing word. You know, like, nobody wants to play the like cleric healer who's like, they have massive healing because they're not doing a ton of damage, probably. They're probably not doing a lot of damage. Many people don't want to do that. I know there are some classes that can kind of spice in some healing. I kind of wish more classes, though, besides cleric, could be big healers. Like, give me one more. Like Druid. Druid can do some healing.
Yeah,
Druid can do
I
some
think
healing.
Druid can do some healing. Paladin as well with lay on hands. It's
Paladin.
fine, but yeah.
You can throw in a bard. Bards have a little bit of healing here and there. I mean, people can multi-class, I guess, but maybe besides cleric, maybe having like one of the classes, like a subclass of druid, be like a healing druid.
Yeah,
Like,
the
just a
only
straight up
like
healing druid.
the
class.
only like primary healing class is the
it's
life
life
cleric.
yes,
The life cleric.
yes, and that is a miss to me. I think there should be another healing subclass like druid, and it's just they're a healer. All they do is they're healing through nature. They're not necessarily doing like a healing word. They're probably using something else. We need that. We need a soothing bard, something like that.
I'm remembering more things that I read. I don't remember. I don't want to go into the details, but they're changing the way wild shape works as well for druid.
Yeah, wild shape is interesting.
I'm pretty sure you don't get like. I'm pretty sure now when you get knocked out of wild shape, you don't just like revert to human form with like maximum hit points again. They're
that
not
was
making, like,
always a
that big,
problem.
like, it was, but that shit is busted. Like
That was a
shit is completely
problem.
Busted. Like
That was a problem for me when I saw it. I was like, wait, what? Why are they not lower in hit points after? Yeah. That was silly. I'm glad they're changing that. It was silly to have it not be, sort of more detrimental. So yeah, I mean, like, D&D is not perfect, but like there are certain things that are on my hit list of things that I want, and I want more healing subclasses. I want more like really specific healing subclasses. Cleric's healing path, got it. Druid could have one, maybe one other. I don't know, like Bard. I'm just saying Bard, but
yeah, I mean you could have a bard one. Like bard's a support class. Like you could have a bard healer.
I'd be super excited to have another healer subclass option that isn't just cleric. So it is like many games I go in, they'll like, oh well, I have cure wounds or I have healing word. It's like, okay, I just took 50 damage though. What do you got?
I hate cure. Nothing. You've got nothing for that. You can't heal that much.
Paladin lay on hands. That's it. I hate it.
I hate cure wounds. I think that spell is ass.
It's not very good. Healing word is much better. But to me,
because for cure wounds you have to be next to them because it's a touch spell. You have to be next to them,
right? And
it only heals like a D8 plus mod.
Yep.
Healing word is a bonus action. I know it heals less. It's D4 plus mod.
Yeah, but it's
like,
range.
It's a bonus action and it's range.
And it's range.
Like
it's much better in that respect. I don't know. I think I want another healer besides cleric. Like Paladin, I get it. You got lay on hands, but that's it. You got lay on hands. That's it.
And then I don't think there's another, like, there's just not that many healing. There's mass healing word, which I think is level 3, and then there's mass cure wounds, which I think is level 5. Like,
Like I
And
said,
upcasting heals always feels so shitty. Like I
unless
don't
you're the
know.
cleric
Like,
class, it feels bad. Feels bad. That's what I said.
yeah,
Need healing.
healing is really bad in 5e. It's really bad.
Yeah, that's what I don't. That's the only thing I don't like. Really, if I'm being completely honest, the one thing I really don't like is healing. Healing feels bad. It feels bad being the healer. It feels like, what are your options? Well, I can heal my party. What do I do if I want to do something else? Sacred Flame? Necrotic Touch? Or whatever it's called.
Inflict wounds.
Wounds. Guiding Bolt. Um,
Spiritual weapon's pretty good.
Spiritual Weapon, Spirit Guardians. Then you get to Spirit Guardians, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, that's where I'm doing stuff.
My character exists now. I have a spirit guard.
My character is now in play.
I like Guiding Bolt. Guiding Bolt. It feels bad to miss because it's an attack roll, but Guiding Bolt's pretty good. I like
when it
that
hits,
spell.
it's good. But once you get to Spirit Guardians, like, wait, now I'm on the battlefield. Now I'm here.
Yeah.
Now I'm here. You all need to respect me. But yeah, healing needs to improve. Only feedback for like things I hate. Like need healing. I don't know. Anyway, anything else on D&D?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think I like the class changes. I think should be interesting to just see what the new subclasses are.
Yep.
And I like the race changes too, like making it so that, like, you know, if I want to play a tanky character, I don't have to pick like a dwarf who has like high constitution or something like that, right? You know, or I don't have to pick a high elf if I want to play a wizard to be like to be optimal, right? I can just pick whatever race that I feel like playing, and then like give it the stats that I want to give it. Like,
Yeah,
I think that's a much needed change.
Yeah, I think that's good. I like that. All right, let me hop over to this overlay.